Hi guys, and welcome to the Women's Summit, where you're gaining clarity so you can lead with confidence and finally turn that passion into profit. I'm Laura Sherrill, a high-performance women's health coach and the founder of Balanced Bombshells, and today I'm here with Abagail and Emylee, the founders of the Boss Project and hosts of the Strategy Hour podcast. They help overwhelmed and creative entrepreneurs break down their oversized dreams to create functioning command centers to tame the chaos of their business. How are you guys?
We're good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to chat with you. I mean, I found you guys on your podcast, and I just love all of the resources you provide entrepreneurs of being able to not only tame the business, but make it look really good. You guys are experts on marketing.
Well, thank you.
So I'd love to know how you guys got started in your business and why.
Sure. So, both of us have a marketing background, definitely coming from different areas and different not levels of expertise, but different grassroots expertise. So I came from more of the corporate side. Emylee came from more of the building your own business and doing the things on your own and figuring it out as you go along. And we actually started separate companies. We had
I wouldn't even call them companies then. Separate.
No, I wouldn't even call them online businesses.
Brands.
I would say we were starting and we were building something. We didn't really know what it would turn into. And it was a lot of hoping and praying and networking. But I started a design company originally and met Emylee a couple of months after I started my business online in a Facebook group. And what I really loved about what Emylee was doing is she just had this spunk about her, this spirit about her, that she was just willing to try things. She was willing to do things and experiment in ways that I hadn't seen other business owners do. A lot of people tend to get in their box and they start doing things they're really comfortable with, and they're not as willing to, I don't know, maybe throw spaghetti at the wall, which I know a lot of people feel like is frivolous, but in the beginning you have to learn so many skills so quickly that there has to be some level of experimentation. And so I met her in a Facebook group. At the time, she was running a photography business. Within a couple of months, we were working pretty exclusively together. Our clients felt like we were one and the same, even though we were still running two businesses. And then just a few months after that, we started educating on everything we were learning. Emylee talked a lot about sales and marketing, and we specifically focused a lot on how to sell in person to people, but we were teaching that to an online audience and how you could translate that to an online business. Since then, it's kind of grown and evolved into a lot of different areas. We teach a lot on project management and organizing your business, but at the end of the day, our bread and butter is sales and marketing. Mm-hmm. And that's where we've been able to teach other people to shine, look really professional, but also be really effective.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'll follow up all of that with, I know you asked, why did we start all of this? And so I think what's really interesting about when we partnered together and we decided to work together, yes, we started in clients, in service-based businesses, helping out other companies with their branding, their marketing, their graphic design, their photography, etc. But I remember very distinctly, when Abby and I first literally met, I drove 4 hours to meet someone in person and stay at her house that I had met online 2 weeks prior. Very safe. And I was sitting on the floor of her office. We had our wine. We were just chilling. We barely knew each other. And it was kind of those conversations of what do you see your life in business doing, and who do you see it serving, and for what point and what purpose? And both of us collectively were we literally just want to see more women making full-time incomes from their passion, no matter what that is, no matter what full-time income means to them. We want to help make that happen. And so it might not have started our focus from day one, but we knew that that was our intention. So everything we created digitally and education resources and our podcast and everything online after that was and has been towards that goal.
Yeah. And I think you can definitely tell that. You guys have a lot of different resources that I think can be applied to so many different industries. And especially with the nature of the online game, of how it's shifted and evolved in the past few years, I think number one is like certainly being able to communicate effectively. Number two is like visually being appealing. Like the online market, like if you don't look good, it's not going to do well for your business. And then definitely behind the scenes of like project management and, you know, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So do you guys usually end up working with like new entrepreneurs or like established, or is it just like a middle of the road type mix?
So I think it kind of depends, but the majority of people that are coming into our circle have some innate desire to create a full-time income from what it is they want to do. So there are various stages, but a lot of them are new when it comes to making it consistent income. They might have dabbled in some things on the side. I would say the majority are still working in some other job,
Yeah.
or they're a full-time stay-at-home mom. And they're trying to bring this up and be a bigger part of their home financial situation.
Yeah.
So definitely leans towards new, but we have people of all sizes in our audience and definitely women of all sorts of backgrounds. So
Well, and what we've seen across the board is really regardless, because this is what it took me years to learn this, but it doesn't honestly matter to me how long you've been in business. There are some people who've been in business a decade before meeting us and wanting to buy one of our programs or learn from us or invest with us. There are some people who are still in their 9 to 5 and they're like just trying to figure it out. But collectively, they all have started to maybe see a little tiny bit of result from their business. Maybe it's $75 here, a couple $100 here, and they realize, oh, wait, I'm actually allowed to want this to be bigger. I'm actually allowed to earn a full-time income from this creative job, from this job that feels really good, from this fun, easy job. I actually can set up a system and team and a sales process and product lineups that support not only me, but my family, and not just grocery bills and not just extra spending money at Target, but my mortgage or the dream house or the private school or the kitchen reno or whatever it is for you, right? I think for so long, people spend a lot of time giving themselves permission that they can actually earn a full-time income from something like taking pictures or designing websites or talking to people online through their problems, right? And so I think they come to us when they're finally ready to tackle that and they've dealt with that mentally, and we continue to support them and be there. People call us their biz fairy godmothers, and I like to picture us like on your shoulders. There's two of us, so we're just hanging out right here, giving you strategy and support, inspiration, and guidance throughout the many ups and downs and long journeys of online business ownership.
Yeah, because it's not like, I don't think it's for the faint-hearted, you know,
Nope.
like you have to be so passionate about it. And if you don't like own that passion and like really have the desire to serve, I love how you guys say that you take like your Oprah-sized dreams, because I feel like there's so many women who have these like big dreams, but don't necessarily know how to create something around that.
yeah.
Especially in like the health and wellness industry, like, you know, there's so many different areas that I think people can tackle. And I think people get nervous because they think like, oh, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist. Like these are certainly the thoughts that I had when I was going through that self-doubt process. And then it's like, no, like I'm a person, I'm going to be more relatable to somebody else because I understand where they are and where they're going. And then like, I just feel like the passion just like drives you through everything. So I know you guys do a lot of automation, and like, what has like the automation done not only for your business, but for your personal lives and other aspirations that you have in life?
Yeah, I think it's important when we're talking about automations to really wrap our head around and understand that, in my opinion, there are phases of automations. And I think oftentimes we go into like automate all the things. And in our head, it's automate sales, like make money while you sleep, and automate your system. So like everything's working behind the scenes for you, and automate like literally everything. And it gets overwhelming when you think about it like that. And so I think, you know, we can share our journey and how we tackle things and how we looked at it, because you have levels of capacity, at different levels of your business. You have more time than money. Sometimes you have more money than time, and that changes where you need to put your attention, right? So for us, we had a lot more time than money when we just started, like a lot of people, right? And so what we really spent a lot of time doing is we created what we call the digital VA. And so everything behind the scenes that we automated. And where we could automate sales, we did, but it's not necessarily where I think a lot of people start. So in the assumption of let me automate sales, it's let me create this program or this course or this service, and I'm going to sell it without me having to handhold it, right? I'm going to wake up in the morning and there's going to be sales in my inbox from that thing. And while that's our reality now, 5 years into business, it didn't happen the very first time we wanted to automate something or go into automations. But that doesn't mean we weren't making money from things while we slept. So we created systems and automations from softwares and tools that we used, right? Being an affiliate for different programs of things that we actually invested in. How can we automate the awareness of the software, tool, or program to our audience for other people to sign up for it? They get the benefit of using it because we recommend it. We get the benefit of getting a small affiliate commission. Okay, let's set that up because that's something easy we can do right now. What are some systems behind the scene, like client consults, booking discovery calls that you can automate using systems like Calendly or Acuity, or I'm sure there's others out there. What can you literally set up if you were to have a digital VA, like a digital robot as your assistant? What can you have that person do for you by taking a day, taking a weekend, taking an afternoon, and setting up some of those triggers or those automations so they can happen behind the scenes? Because while that might not make you money in its first go through of it firing, it does save you money. And I think that's what I want a lot of people to pay attention to, especially at the beginning in that phase one.
Yeah, I would just add on to that and say, where do you want to focus? Like, what is the goal of you automating anything at all? Are you trying to free up time so that you can spend more time in this other area of your business? Are you doing it so that you do not have to bring someone else on and you're avoiding hiring in a good way, because you have systems in place so you don't necessarily need another person? Is it because there's a necessity? For us, that was a lot of what drove the changes we made in our business. I suffered from a traumatic brain injury in 2016, and it radically changed my life, but it also radically changed the way we had to build our business so that I had the time and space to heal, but also go to doctor's appointments, also rest, also take care of my body. And we've seen so many people, they experience this at different levels. You don't have to be in an accident to need to change how things are running in your business. You could have a loved one that's sick. You could have a child with special needs. You could have chronic pain. You could simply just want more time in your life to work on other things. It doesn't have to be
just
something,
be on mat leave or take a sabbatical or,
it doesn't have to be negative for you to have the desire to want to build these things. But once you know what's pushing you to do it, I think it can help you identify what your biggest needs are first so that you can focus there. Because trust me, we've had several iterations of our business, several iterations of what we sell and how we make money. But the way in which we have automated has changed over time because the world is changing right along with us, and we have to be able to adapt and change. So while I thought as a new business owner that I could set it up once and it would be good forever, y'all, things change. Systems need updated. You're going to have to go back and tweak things. Plus you're going to learn stuff and you're going to want to be oh, I think this could work better, or I want to try this strategy. And it's easy to think I can just do it all, but really starting in very specific areas of your business and finishing a whole project before going and starting automating everything else, because it can easily lead to a lot of half-built systems that are just actually costing you more time and energy.
Yeah, I love that you say that too, because I feel especially with women who are multi-passionate, so it's you start one and you're but then you have such a great idea to do another, but you didn't fully wrap that up. So I think as an entrepreneur too, you have to be so intrinsically not only motivated, but regulating yourself of wait, did I finish that project? Or is the resistance I'm feeling meaning like something needs to shift and tweak. Like I think we can use our feminine nature a lot in our work too, to just be like, something's not landing right. That I think people can look into. But I just love that you mentioned that, like making sure you don't have like a lot of half-assed systems, basically.
Yep. That's it's so easy to do, and it's so easy. My biggest suggestion, really, when you're going into all of this, is find some way to organize what are the systems that you actually are creating, and what is the workflow of each of those, and what is the purpose. And go a step further and literally document like the links and the rules and the softwares and the systems that you're using in each of those spaces, because when one thing breaks, you can go and kind of dig around and see, okay, where is this small hole, right? What do I need to fix? Instead of like, well, because this has happened to us, this is why I say it, 5-6 months later, you're like, oh, that's been literally broken the entire time. And I'm only just now realizing because customers are emailing me in my inbox, or students are emailing me, and they're putting it out over here.
Coming from you guys too, knowing that you've done a lot of research on like different companies that offer like, different platforms and systems that you can use as an entrepreneur. How do you handle, especially like in the beginning stages of your business and as you're starting to grow, the amount of conflicting advice and opinions on what you should do with your business and like your communications, like, oh, set up your email funnel like this, or no, you're supposed to do it this way. Like, how do you handle all of the voices to hear like your own and what can actually move forward for you?
Well, I will say we had a bit of a benefit 5 years ago. There were far less choices for a lot of things. There was like, you get to pick from this or this, and that's it. Or there was literally no solution. A lot of the things we were building 5 years ago,
we were like so ahead of our time.
There was like literally no option for us to do the kinds of things we were talking about doing. And so we kind of had to wait for the software to build up alongside what we had a desire to do. So that being said, I get that there's a lot of noise right now. But my kind of suggestion is, rather than listening to a bunch of people give you advice, you need to nail down a couple of people that you simply trust and you like the way they set up their business. You like the way they're living their life. They need to be modeling this kind of lifestyle that you're interested in. And then choose to learn from less people. Because at the end of the day, it's not that one software is dramatically better than another. They're just different. Like if we were to talk about see, I already combined them. Click pages and lead up. Blip. Click up and lead pages. Okay, they're both landing page softwares. I could tell you which one we picked. It doesn't necessarily make it better or worse. It just literally is the one we picked 5 years ago. And so we're still using it today. I think my opinion matters less. It matters more who you're choosing to learn from. And then honestly, taking the advice from less people will help, because they have already figured out systems that work congruently together. Because that is the hardest part of all of this, is you need your systems to talk to each other. And if they don't, you're going to end up with troubles down the line of like, oh, well, I already invested 100 hours into this thing, but now it doesn't talk to this thing. And that's a problem.
Well, and that's what I see so often is like students who, okay, I'm going to learn just from you guys about this particular thing. So therefore I'm going to use this software and this software and this software because that's what you use and you figured it out. And literally, if you let that be the answer, because not a lot of us can, if you let that be the answer, you don't have to go down the Google rabbit hole of comparing email service providers to all of these email service providers. You can literally just listen to the one that the trusted person that you're choosing to learn from recommends. And then my follow-up advice to that is, once you've identified your circle of trust, right? And truly, like, you could still follow other people and support them and love them, but like maybe you're just not learning this particular thing from them. You're going to take that advice somewhere else. I would also ask yourself, what do I actually need to learn next? What is the thing that I'm going to tackle? Not the thing I want to do by the end of the year or in 3 years or 5 years. What is a skill that I don't know right now, or a hole that I'm missing that I'm confused about, that would help me do my very next project? And then seek answers just to that thing. Maybe instead of Googling, how do I automate my business? Googling, how do I automate booking calendar appointments or something very specific? How do I automate the client onboarding process? Okay, what are the ideas for this particular thing? So I remember, and this is so easy to do when you're just getting started, or listening to all of the podcasts about, writing a book and creating a digital product and then doing a high-end coaching program and then doing this over here. And I'm like learning all of the things because it feels good. And it definitely keeps you inspired and motivated on some level, but it's also just like, protect your brain capacity, protect that brain space. And truly, if you can be intentional about the things that you're letting in because you need to know them right now or next, I think we'll free up a lot of that activity and chatter.
Yeah, which I think like everybody ends up going through at some capacity for a little bit of like, oh, I'm so inspired by the possibilities. But then like really tuning into like what's actually going to work for you, what's going to work for your audience. So like you have to know who you're talking to. But then also what's going to work for your time too. Cause like, I don't feel like anyone comes into business being like, yeah, I'm super excited to work 100 hours a week. Nope. And like, that obviously doesn't, an exhausted and burnt out entrepreneur, especially from like the female perspective is, we're talking about women's health too. That is like the fastest way to, I think, derail a lot of your good intentions.
Yeah.
Because you guys know too, I mean, of all the things you've gone through for your own personal health and life, like if your health isn't on point, if you're not able to show up the way that you want to, what kind of impact does that have on, what you're able to deliver? And I guess that's where the automation comes in too, because I know you guys do not only like the Boss Project, you do the Strategy Hour podcast, but then you each have your own side hustles now. So like all of your automation, all the things you've done has not only allowed you to like run your business effectively, but also have a family, get involved in other projects that you're passionate about that can also bring in an additional income to your own personal family. Do you guys want to talk about that, of like how much, like now on the other side of that automation, what does your life look like now with all this set up?
Well, it has seasons. So I think that's the biggest thing to keep in mind as well. I could tell you, this is what our week looks like. Our week looks like this 8 months out of the year, but then 4 months, there might be some really crazy shiz going down. Like, but in general, we work way less and we have way more boundaries, I suppose, about what we are willing to give up to do other things. We say no to way more than we used to. We work, I would say, 4 hours a day on average, 6 hours if we got a lot going on. I don't remember the last time I worked 8 hours in a row for Boss Project, and definitely not 5 days a week. We're talking 3.5 days a week. And so our half day is like literally 2 hours on a Friday. Okay. We've figured out a system that allows us time freedom because that is something we value. We also focus on family first. So like, while all of this is important to us, if something were to come up and Emily's like, hey, P's got something going on, like we just focus on that. Like that's the way we set up our business.
Well, I think that boundary is easy to stick to now because it's been our boundary even before I had a kid, even before the accident, even before any of the other things. We, in that same office conversation, we sat down and were honest with each other about like, I want all of these amazing things and I don't want to work my face off. Right. And I want to see my family and I'm not working nights and weekends. This isn't a but situation. This isn't you have to give up your nights and weekends to make this a reality. Some people choose to, some people have that as their only time option. And I get that. Like make your decisions where you need to make them. Our particular life and lifestyle at that time when we were just babies getting started was I'm not working overnight. I'm not going to be that story that's, oh, we were working 100-hour weeks and then we realized we needed to cut back. That's never been my story because I said no from day one.
Yeah. So, but did we work at one point 40 hours a week? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm so glad you guys share that too, because I think that like the world needs to hear those voices because I think right now that's like oversaturating, at least like the coaching industry, health and wellness too, is like that you have to work 100 hours a week to make it possible. And it's like, I don't, like, I haven't, because I, same as you, believe that's not going to be my story. I know what burnout feels like. And I remember getting started and I was like, I cannot run my business the same way that I did my previous career. I was so burnt out. I was like, there's just no way. And if I'm going to be teaching health, like that, I would be such a hypocrite. Like, it would just be like, no, they need to see that, like, you walk the walk.
Yeah.
Well, look up stuff about diminishing returns. Okay. Any business has this, every industry has this, but you can put more into something and at some point you start putting more in it and your productivity goes down.
Yeah.
And like your sales go down. And like you can literally reverse good things you have going on in your business if you pour too much of yourself into it, because you will over tweak something that's already working. You will literally say something that messes it up. You will confuse people. You will put out too much content. Like you will do things that seem helpful in the moment that are actually putting you further back. And so I think there's a way in which we can all be more efficient and more focused, because when we are working, it's very dedicated. There's not 15 interruptions. Like it is, this is what I'm doing for the next 2 to 4 hours. Don't mess with me.
Right.
And so because of that, we also have very distinct boundaries about what we do on certain days of the week, who we communicate with, and then how we delegate to our team. Like our team is a vital part of what our business is today. But when we started, it was just the two of us. It meant simple things like we had to stop checking our email all day long. We just checked it for 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the afternoon. We went through it together and it drove us both bananas. And so that was like one of the first things we delegated and got someone on board with. But you can and do have more control than you're giving yourself credit for right now. And you think you need to do all of these things, and that's not necessarily true.
Right. And please, like, hear all of this conversation about automated things, free up more time to do this, to not fill it with more work. You hear that we both have our own side projects, our own literal things that just sound fun for us that we do outside of this company because of the free time it has allowed us to do. I think so many people do spend a lot of time setting up systems, doing automations, setting up all the stuff, and then feeling the pressure of filling that time that they just saved with getting more clients in the door so they can have more work, or setting up yet another thing. So they're always busy doing something. And I really want you to like respect the time that you're opening up for yourself, because when you've set up an automation to work for you while you're not there, you're still working. Like that is still work. You're just not having to do it all the time.
Yeah. And I think like, I'm just so glad to hear that side of it too, because like, that's definitely how I've set up like my intention and focus, because it's like, you don't want to do something burnt out. You want to have time with your family. You need that space. But there is definitely, I think, a large market of people who glorify the busy work. And like, I don't know if this happens to you guys when you're out with friends, or I always end up observing people's like conversations. So I'll go to like parties with friends and I'll ask them how they're doing. And they basically go through the reel of them being busy and like tell me their calendar and their schedule. And I'm like, we're at a party to like relax and unwind, and you're filling the air with all the things that you have to do that you're stressed out about. And like, to me, it's like, okay, that to me sounds like you should be saying no more. Like you should be like setting more boundaries. So I don't know if that happens to you guys too. Like now that you guys have like mastered the system of like automating from a place of intention and purpose and having it really work out because of the way that you guys set things up 5 years ago. When you hear other people, regardless of if they're entrepreneurs or not, like, I guess I'm just trying to say, like, do you end up telling them they need to set more boundaries? Or like,
I can't help myself. I always have opinions and things to say. What I get most often, and it's lessening now because my response has been the same every time. I say one sentence and then I don't say anything else, is that other people in my family, close and extended, have more traditional jobs. There are only 2 people in my family who have a job kind of similar to my schedule, so they understand it a little bit more. But when I post a picture of me having a beer or reading a book at 2 p.m. because it was randomly sunny or whatever it is, right? Taking a walk, doing whatever, I get a lot of like, oh, that must be nice.
Yeah.
Sarcastic. And every single time I just say, yeah, it is nice. It is nice. And I don't say anything else outside of that, because a lot of people just have to check their own like frustrations with their own current situation. And I get that. But what I've learned to do, and what I've been good at for a while, and I encourage our students to do, is don't apologize for the space that you're making for yourself ever, at all. Maybe other people don't want the strategy on how to do it themselves if they're still in the corporate world or this isn't their land. That's okay. But you don't have to explain or justify it or fill it with work.
Right.
Well, and just to add to that, you get to decide what that life you want looks like. I think I've personally struggled with if you're not working, don't fill it with more work. My tendency is to do that. And so I have to check myself on a regular basis. I don't want to not be busy though. And so I think it's okay to accept that I like a busy lifestyle, but busy doesn't necessarily have to equal work. It can be things I enjoy. It can be going for long walks. It can be hikes. It can be baking.
I'm going to repaint my dining room later this week. And like someone else might be like, why are you adding more? But that's fun to me. I want to do that.
So there's a way to fill, like if you are not the kind of person that wants to sit on the couch, that's fine. We're not saying you need to go do something that's counterintuitive to who you are, but can you do more things you enjoy and less things that are just filling your time, like that's where I think it's okay to be like, you know what? So I gave up the word busy this year. I'm not busy. My life is full.
Full. Yes. I've done the same thing.
And it's really helped me put some perspective around it of like, this is a conscious choice for me to live a life this way. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But
so I want to learn how to make the bread and then go for a walk and make some earrings and do a webinar. I want all of those things, but now I feel like there's so much more on my terms. And I get to decide like when they happen, how often they happen, whatever, right?
Yeah. And I just resonate so much with both of you, because like I definitely make sure I'm not saying, oh, I'm busy and like going through that complaining route or apologizing. Like the amount of emails I've received from women who will say, I'm sorry for something, where I'm like, I was like, you're literally damaging your self-esteem. You're basically, I can't stand those two words.
Stop it. So this has taken me over 2 years. I'm sure you guys have seen this though, but there was like a couple of years ago, this like viral little post that was just swapping I'm sorry for whatever you're actually thanking the person for. So I take so long to respond to emails, personal emails, and texts. Like Abby, like I have currently, let me just show you. I have currently 142 unread text messages on my phone. This is my normal. I'm not going to respond to you. I'm not fast about it. I don't like doing it. It's just not going to happen. I'm also not sorry for it. I'm genuinely not. And so if there's one that I, like yesterday, there was one, a friend of mine who I actually did want to respond to. I just forgot and it got lost in translation. But 3 days later, I remembered that she had texted me. So instead of starting the text with, so sorry, life is crazy, blah, 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 I said, oh, thanks for waiting for my response. Here's the thing that I'm going to say. I'm thanking you for your patience because I want that from you. And I don't want to have to apologize to a friend.
Right. Because like I received one where they were like, I'm sorry for taking long to get back to you. My family was in town. And I'm like,
don't apologize for that.
Don't apologize for having family. And like,
no.
So I'm all about like just badass
Say
women like owning what they want.
Thankful for. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for waiting for me. Thank
or
you.
Just get into you don't even have to acknowledge it.
Yeah, you get right into the conversation.
Right.
Yeah, I think too, in like the fast pace in the world that we're like so interconnected with, people expect a response right away. I'm more introverted, so like I do like to take time to like think about things and like what is my response going to be intentional. And I just love that you guys feel the same way, because I just feel like we just need less of the I'm sorry and busy. Well, and I think too, like the overarching like message that I'm hearing from you guys too is like allowing yourself permission to own what you want. Yes. And like not constantly seeking out either validation or my sister's not going to watch this, so I can say this. she needs help with all the decisions that she makes. So she'll constantly text me and be like, what should I do? And it's like, these are huge life decisions. And I'm like, what do you want to do?
What do you want?
Like, but you
Yeah.
don't, and I keep telling her, you don't need my permission to do what
Yeah.
you want. And I think that's what you guys, certainly teaching automation, certainly providing a lot of resources for entrepreneurs, but I think overarching message that you guys also provide, and I just respect this so much of you guys being leaders in this space, of owning your dreams and moving forward with them and not feeling bad about it.
Well, and that's why we say too, it's our goal to help you create a full-time income, no matter what that is, because I'm not here to push a 6-figure a year on you. I'm not here to push a 7-figure a year on you. I don't care what you make. I want you to know what you want it to be and maybe push yourself a little bit. I will be that person for you, but I want to help you make literally whatever dream you have in your mind a reality. It's not my job to define that for you and push that on you.
Yeah. Well, and then I just want to stop the stigma that like your life has to look like somebody else's.
Yeah.
I think we get to define what makes us happy and what makes us successful. And it's so easy, especially when you're starting a business, to look around, find someone that you think is doing well in a thing that's similar to what you want to do, and then define all of your life's goals based on their level of success
and all of your progress to their
how
progress.
fast they got there. You're constantly measuring where you're at against where they're at, and you're like, oh, I'm sick.
We did it first.
I literally used to say, oh, we're 6 months behind so and so.
Yeah.
As a way to push ourselves and motivate us. But like, we didn't realize, like, okay, that's not actually being helpful. Like,
no. And
that road's their road.
What happened when we accepted, what do we actually want? What do we actually care about? And, all of, I don't know if all of them, but most of our friends were like, I want to run $1 million company. And Emily and I looked at each other. Do we really want to run $1 million company?
Right. Do you know what goes into that? Like, it's not easy.
Do we want to make more personal income?
Yes.
Do we want more time with our family? Like, what is our actual goal? And while we have our own version of that, like, you also get to decide. And so I think when you stop using other people as your measuring stick and you start creating your own, you're going to be so much happier.
And I think like it's definitely hard, especially when you're getting started. Like, I did the same thing and I was like, wait a minute, I'm comparing myself to people who have been in this for 7 or 8 years. Like, of course I'm not going to be able to measure up. And then like, when I was first getting started, there was nothing about hormones and women's health that was really for our generation in the terms of the way that I resonated with it. Like, it was very much, very like naturopath driven, some health coaches, some doctors, but they all associated it like very negatively. And so you have to sit there and I'm like, no, like, how am I using this to benefit my life? How do I talk about this? How am I approaching it? And I think like you definitely have to shut off what other people are doing, because like it can derail what you create and like how you even think about what you're doing. Like, you can definitely get stuck in that hole. So I just appreciate you guys so much. And I know you have a free gift that you're going to be offering the listeners of how we can kind of just improve our business. And I'd love to hear more about what you guys have.
Yeah. So in the talks of today, right, of automating, of figuring out what you actually want, of breaking it down, of figuring out your phases, sometimes that can get really overwhelming, right? And I know we mentioned earlier taking your Oprah-sized goals and like actually breaking them down so they can happen. Well, we've created a system truly that will change your life. And we're giving it away for free. So we have our most popular program ever, which is Trello for Business. Well, the most popular board inside of that program is Big Picture Strategy. And we've walked over 7,000 creators through this board on how to take the really, really big, giant goals, break them down for a year, for a quarter, for a 2-week sprint, for a day-to-day activity, and really feel like you're able to focus on one thing at a time and not have all the chaos constantly streaming around in your head. Because I know that people like us, it's like the running checklist. I need to do that. I need to do that. And so this really helps get it out of your brain onto digital paper so you can really fully understand this complete project. It will also help you when you do have so many automation balls in the air for you to organize them and finish them, like we talked about earlier, and not having a bunch of unbuilt, unfinished automations. So Abby's going to let you know where you guys can go grab that for free.
Yeah. So if you want access to that board and more information about how you can project manage your business, how you can organize it, streamline it, get all our workflows, you're going to want to head to bossproject.com/free board. There's no hyphens. It's all one word, bossproject.com/free board. We are so excited for you to dive into that and want to hear your feedback. So if you get something organized, if you get something launched, if you get something out there, definitely head over to Instagram and send us a DM over at Boss Project and let us know how it helped you, because we're just as excited as you are that you're getting started on this journey.
Yeah. And thank you guys so much. Like, definitely guys, if you're listening, I'm going to leave their website information, the link to grab this free board, and their Instagram handles, as well as their podcast, because I feel like every entrepreneur, regardless of what background you're coming into, like, it's a must listen for all the women out there basically taking over the world.
Do it.
Yeah. But thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll talk soon.
Okay.